All right, so just some quick info about us as a company. As you can see on your screen here, big picture of us. About 55 folks all out here under one roof. Been around the longest of anyone else out there, and about 5 million barrels produced annually. So some quick info about us, but we are here to solve this problem. So this is what we like. This is what we see a lot of times is bookkeeping software, Excel spreadsheets, handwritten notes, web apps, proprietary knowledge that's rolling between your ears. Just really hard to connect all those dots. A lot of time that it takes to take one piece of information and put it into another system. So we like to bring it all together in one version of the truth and cut down on that dual entry or triple entry from paper to spreadsheets, etc. And then just ensure that the best business decisions are being made off of a solution that's created based off of best practices in the industry. Got about 3,000 folks logging in on a daily basis, and our retention rate's around 95% all time. So we take a lot of pride in that retention rate. And then we got quite a few customers out there of all sizes. These folks are relatively small to mid-sized breweries. If you want to take a look, Saltwater's down there. They make the edible six-packs down in Florida. And then we also have larger breweries as well. Our community, we do travel around the country 5 times per year, do regional visits. And at those visits, we do training workshops, additional information we can provide for you guys, networking, etc. And then we have our big conference here in Portland annually, and it's similar networking, feedback sessions, quite a few attendees, as you can see here. And then remotely, you guys can connect with us as well on our self-help site that allows you guys video and text content for training. Our support staff is available to you as well as a forum where you can chat with other folks, other breweries, beverage manufacturers. And then if you have any ideas, you can drop those on the portal. So on the portal, you can see we have an ideas tile. And here's an idea down here. They got brought up, got 36 votes, and you can see what its status is. And this one happened to get added to the roadmap, and it's a current feature. So about 70% of those features are coming directly from our customers. So without further ado, we'll jump into the demonstration here this afternoon. We're going to cover all 4 of these components that you're seeing right now. All right, so we'll jump off the demonstration with what we refer to as SightGlass, a dashboarding tool. Here's our finance dashboard, quick P&L, quick balance sheet, being able to access this from any PC or Mac or any device that has an internet connection. So tablets, iPhones, so on and so forth, being able to hover over the icon and see just exactly what's going on with your business in real time. And as you see on the left-hand side of your screen, we do have finance, production, purchasing, sales, and inventory. So a quick production snapshot will give you a nice little tank utilization data mark. Brew to mash yields, once again, being able to hover over these icons and see how your business is performing in real time. And so we'll continue to come back to the SightGlass dashboard, perhaps as we move through the demonstration. But for now, we're going to go ahead and jump in directly to the core solution itself. So as you can see over here on the left-hand side of your screen, you guys have everything you need to be successful. So everything from financials, P&Ls, balance sheets, 1099s. The financials are completely built in. There is no sync button. As well as we have the ability to track point of sale solutions as well. So being able to link up those point of sale solutions and bring that data into the system. We also have personalized areas. So like here's a sales area that's fully customizable. Quick KPI dashboard here in the middle. It's telling you some quick info. You got 19 open sales orders on the right-hand side here, and then your common functions. Think of the common functions as your bookmarks. So your bookmarks that you have in your browser, we can drag and drop different functions on here, whether it be a state excise tax report, TTB report, and then we can jump right into some finance as well and see a quick KPI dashboard of that. And so you have 34 open AR invoices currently. Down here on the lower right, we have messages and alerts. So that can be for anything in the system, whether that be running low on a particular raw material. So as we're running low on a particular raw material, we'll drill down into that, and it'll give us a brief glance into the core data of the system. So you want to be able to drill down into the data that any system gives you and not trust it because you want to know where it comes from. This is where our item master data comes in. We had a pop-up for a bulk 2-row malt that we were running low on. Everything is harbored in the system for inventory, whether that be tasting room, merch, or in this case, malt. And our inventory data tab is going to tell us a quick story. How much do you have in stock here? About 6,000 pounds. What is committed to production? So what's on your whiteboard over the next 3 weeks or 3 months that you're committing to future production orders? And there is a purchase order out there for 5,000 pounds that has not yet been received at the dock. So you drop below your available number, but more so your minimum threshold of 10K, you're at 6,000, so it give you a nice little pop-up alert. From a traceability perspective, when you jump into batches, you'll notice that you've purchased it 3 times ever in the system, once on 8/4 on the dates, and then, for example, lot 4001, we can drill down into that and see where all that's been used. So you used it at Country Malt, or excuse me, you bought it from Country Malt on 8/4, and you've used it to the tune of 6,300 pounds, 6,300 pounds, etc. And if we drill down into one of these ones where we said we used it 1,000 pounds, generally that deduction is occurring on an iPad. So we're saying, hey, we mashed in and we used 1,000 pounds. Where did it come from? Well, it came from this production order here, 12161, and the recipe called for 200 pounds, and you actually used 200 pounds. But our big value is the recipe called for 50 pounds of Cascade, right? And you used 60 pounds. Quantity consumed was 60. And that 60 pounds is at about $7 a pound. So that beer automatically just costs you 70 more bucks or so. All right, and as you drop back out of here, we'll hit a quick peek at some item master data for our IPA. And that'll tell us the same story, right? So we're taking a look at our IPA. Inventory data tab, how much you got in stock? 54. What is committed to sales order? 69. What is coming through your production pipeline? 194. That gives your available number, and you drop below your threshold at 250. So really light information there. If we drill down into our batches, we can see just exactly where it's been purchased. So as we jump into the wide world of accounts receivable and sales, we'll go ahead and walk through that really fast as well. So when we go ahead and sell something, you know, how do we make better promises? That's the whole premise of the system. Simplify allocations to your tasting room and be able to forecast accurately, be able to connect to your retail information, and then track how your sales are doing by brand, by measure, etc. So let's go ahead and jump into a quick AR invoice. Take a look at one of those really quick. We'll show you the process flow for that and the way that it works. So we talked about allocations there on that slide. And as you can see here, I have a quick order here, and it's showing you had an order here that actually allocates it. So like we talked about, puts it on hold for that customer, self-distribution or regular. Bill of lading here in the middle, removes the inventory, and then recognizing the revenue several days later. You'll notice that these can be flexible on, you have a different number for your sales order, 2,500 versus how much you sold, 3,000. So those are all changeable. And then you added some freight here, so then it jumped up to $3,000 or something. So full process for AR. Let's go ahead and jump into a sales order here. We'll walk through that briefly. A sales order, you can see we have a full list of them. This one's going out on the 28th to Miletus. I'll drill down into that. We'll notice that's going out on 2/28, so your ship date. How much do you have in stock of all your SKUs here in the middle? And then we punch our validated availability button, and shazam, they pop up in red. So that's your forecasting component that we talked about on that slide. Estimated weight, volume, and pallet spots here in the lower right. And you'll notice we're going to make about 17 grand in this order, and we can add freight if we need to. Probably most importantly, though, up here in the toolbar, we got a gross profit button. Snap into that. We can notice right off the bat, 68%, 12 grand. And then we'll notice we're actually losing money on one of these SKUs. It's our cases of IPA. So generally for one reason or another. Maybe it's a West Coast IPA that you put a bunch of hops into and dry hop the heck out of it, and the hops were expensive. Got a bad yield and you lost money on that beer. We can drill down into this beer and show you the way we price it out. So as we drill down into this case of IPA, you'll notice from left to right here, boxes. So imagine these boxes are pieces of paper that you fill out. So at brew house, wort, green beer, dry hop beer, bright beer, and then obviously packaging. And every single one of these stages will actually record what actually happens on an iPad. Okay, so if we drill down into the recipe for wort, it calls for 1 pound here, 50 pounds there, 100 pounds, etc. Anything that differs from that recipe will affect the cost of that beer. And if you'd like to, you can put labor and lights and things like that in front of there. So just to recap here, quick gross profit calculation with the click of a mouse, 68%. And we can see if we're going to run out of anything, since this order is placed in the future, 228. And we'll jump out of here and get into some production. As we jump into production, what we're going to do this afternoon is we're just going to create a beer, we're going to schedule that beer, and then we're actually going to execute that on an iPad for us this afternoon. All right, so we can see here that we are going to punch this button and create this beer. We're going to build this production run, and we're going to build it for which style of beer do we want to build it for. We'll go ahead and build it for some IPA. Makes sense. And we're going to use which recipe version. Okay, we have 3 or 4 versions here. And yeah, we're looking at the recipe process and execution. So you're saying I'm going to use my one during the summertime because I had Simcoe, I ran out of it. So I got this one during the wintertime and I used Cascade or something. So we're going to just use our default recipe. We're going to mash in on the 21st of the month here. And then we're going to do a double brew. So how many turns would you like to do this afternoon? You know, let's do a double brew. As soon as we punch outline production run, this is very important. You'll notice it gives it its own unique batch ID number, 8934. Any lot of raw material can be traced back to that batch number. So full traceability grain to glass. And you'll notice it creates your process steps for you: brewing, fermentation, dry hopping, and filtration. 2 turns at your 30-barrel brew house. You expect to yield 54 barrels. Whether you yield 50 or 60, we'll record that on an iPad when you actually see that, so we can run a report on efficiency. Lead times are built in, 221 to 37. And then most importantly, over here on the right-hand side, which tank is it coming from and to? So it's coming out of brew house number 1, going into fermenter number 99. But we have a list of our fermenters here. How do you know which fermenter is open? You'd have to bring out your scheduler here. And as you can see, your scheduler is going to show you everything that you guys need to be successful. So we can see these are our dates across the top here, 2, 1, 2, 3, etc. Tanks are across the left-hand side. These are all bright tanks. We only really care about our fermenters. So our fermenters are down here. Which ones are open? Looks like fermenter number 3 will be open. Green is for fermenting and dry hopping. So we could drop it into 3 if we'd like, but for the sake of the demo, we'll just have it slide into your DMs at fermenter number 99. And we'll drag it up there later. So we'll add that to the schedule. We'll do it in released or planned status, just a view that you have. You can plan 3 months in advance and then release it to your staff every 3 weeks. So plan versus release. Take a quick preview of that, and you'll notice it's the same thing. Just breaks down your brewing, fermentation, dry hopping step, and it's going into fermenter 99 here. Soon as we punch create, it'll drop off of here, and it'll actually drop onto your production scheduler. And we just need to go schedule that beer now very briefly. So as we schedule that beer, we'll go ahead and dump it out of there. And let's jump in here to the scheduler and we'll go schedule it. So let's walk through the legend here briefly. As you can see, you can see it by process or by brand. So process and brands is coming up. And then you obviously can see we can turn certain things on and off. So if I turn off my bright beer, it all kind of goes away. I've planned and released orders down here. So just a quick view, only show me what's been formally released to my staff. Turn certain brands on and off. I got all my cider turned off here. Show purchase orders and sales orders. Any notes that we have in the system. So here's a note to do some CIP here on 2/9. And then if we want to see multiple locations, most importantly, some of our breweries have one location or 5 small tasting rooms with little brew houses in there. Handle multiple locations. So don't forget, we need to come down here. Here's all our brown is for brewing, double brews, etc. Coming out of my one brew house. I do have my brew house too. And as we come down here, we'll see that we had that one brew into fermenter number 99 for a specific date. There it is. It's that. Now we can drag it up and see which fermenter is open. Let's go ahead and drag that bad boy up, and we'll notice that it looks like, yep, fermenter number, actually perfect. It lines up perfectly with fermenter number 4, so we won't have any breakdown time there at all. And now what happens if I want to drag one of these brews over, right? Here's one of my mashes. Okay, and brown is from brewing. I actually want to move this over to be done on the 22nd. You'll notice the system is smart enough to push out the subsequent production process steps. So if you're running this on a spreadsheet and you've got to change your mash day, that means you got to change your ferment day, your dry hop day. With our system, it does it. It does it all for you if you'd like. So really cool feature. We take pretty seriously here. Saves people, at least a couple hours on a manual schedule. All right, let's jump out of here and see what a process view looks like. You can see all of our brown is up here for brewing. Fermentation's down here in light green. Dry hopping's down here in dark green. And then we got a few packaging days coming up down here in blue. A lot of people have this on a flat screen up in their brewery. Just kind of task along and see what's going on in the brewery. So let's go ahead and take a look at a monthly view. It's kind of fun. About as fun as everything gets. It's totally useful. So you can see brew days on here and brew and brown. You can see any packaging days. You got a lot of purchase orders coming in pink and a lot of sales orders going out in gray. And if we select a cell right from here, we can create a new note. We can create a new production order, a new purchase order. We also can check the availability. So any of these sales orders, when I select check available to promise, will pop up in red. And if they popped up in red like they just did, that means I can't fulfill them. There's an item on there that cannot be fulfilled. So if we drill down into that one for the 28th, you'll notice that when it pops up, you can't fulfill your pale ale or your half-barrel kegs of amber. All right, back to the scheduler one more time. We have the ability to see it from a weekly perspective, a daily perspective, all sorts of fun stuff. It's all date stamped. So we got, some brews over here at 8 a.m. We're going to move that down to 10 a.m. Packaging at 3, packaging again at 7:45. Pretty cool. So if anybody has any questions, just let us know. And we're going to go ahead and slide over now. So let's slide over to our iPad app. And as we do so we created it, we scheduled it, we put it in fermenter number 4, right? Now we just need to go ahead and execute that on an iPad. So on an iPad, it's going to tell you that we are going to mash in on a particular day. And you can see your schedule here. So here's the 2 brews for the 22nd. So you can see it's IPA 8934. And on number 8934, we'll select that so we can mash in. And we can see all of our recipe is here. And we just simply execute it on a tablet. So how much did you plan to use? How much did you actually use, except for on the Cascade hops, where you have several lots to choose from. System defaults to first expiry, first out. Recipe calls for 50 pounds, and I actually used 65 pounds because I spilled some or alpha acids were off. So it automatically takes out the 15 pounds in real time. And the cool part is it books it to the cost of beer as well. So real-time inventory, real-time cost of goods. And you have some special buttons across the top here on that brown header. You can hit the crayon and sub it out. So maybe you didn't use the Fuggle, like it's 1980, and you actually subbed it out for some Mosaic. Okay, there you go. You can sub it out, no problem there. With our little double cheeseburger button here, we can see some quick instructions. And then with our beaker button here, we can see we can record some gravities and some target pHs, and brewer can punch his initials in, or her initials in, for accountability purposes. Across the bottom here, you'll notice we have mash, louder, kettle, and whirlpool. So we'll click through those really fast, pretty efficient. All this information gets exported to Microsoft Excel in real time, so you can see how your brews are doing. Then you have your kettle data here as well. So a very quick, easy way. Like I said, it all exports to Excel. You slide that sidebar out, and you can go ahead and mash again on that second double brew if you'd like to do that. Okay. All right, moving forward, we can dial in our fermentation QC. It'll load all your tanks, all your bright tanks, fermenters, grundies, whatever you guys have. And as you can see here, this one's at 28 barrels of American Ale, 57 degrees, 5 and 3. We're going to put in a new entry on that bad boy. So let's go ahead and pump in this gravity, pH, temperature. Brewer can put their initials in for accountability purposes. And we submit that. Now we can see that the data record has been most likely updated, and that tank is now at 59 degrees. All right, we also have packaging and dry hopping on here. Packaging is pretty straightforward. You just go ahead and punch those cans or bottles, and you can see you plan the packaging here. Order for 65 kegs. We touch that and just tell you how many kegs you made. If you want to put pallets in there, you can. And some light QC on here as well. So DOs, CO2s, low fills, squishies, customizable checklists for you. So that is our mobile production application. Hope you guys found that valuable. Let's go take a look and see just exactly where that QC data went. QC data probably went into our QC analysis tool. So let's go ahead and select that. It's a native Excel tool. And we can select a beer here on the left-hand side, a tank, fermentation chart, average daily pH, batch. And then we can see we have some brew charts here as well. Grab a beer, quantity brewed, original gravity pH, packaging information, and then the individual entries are down here on one of these tabs. So if you wanted to see like your mash data, okay, hit your mash data, grab your slicers, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So just for that date range, show me all the fermentation data. Slide over. See any comments that are in there? Original gravity versus target. It all exports to Excel for you. It's a pretty solid tool there for you. And we also have, full TTV report as well. Being able to run that inside the system, whether we run it monthly or quarterly, we can handle both. And as you can see here, it runs it for a date range up top here. And we want to be able to drill down into this cell that says we created, 1700. And notice that these are all from blend control items. So blending, as well as just regular receipts. And if you wanted to drill down into that, you could see where that data came from as well. Plan to get 270 barrels, you got 275, so you didn't pay taxes on the extra 4. The real-time TTB, as well as your state excise tax reporting. The fun report, so you just say, hey, for a specific state, go ahead and key in how much you use. So for the month of January in the state of Oregon down there, and you want to see it in barrels, so that's your display volume. Looks like he sold 21 barrels. But we want to see how much we sold in April. And we sold 59 barrels. So you're just paying it from there. We can break it up by pack family, pack type, brand ABV, etc. We also, we have full purchasing inside the system. So you want to be able to just put POs in, right? Put some POs in, process those through. You can see you got 16 open POs here, and then we can ship those through the system. And you can actually, if you put them in ahead of time, you can email them directly out of the system, as well as you can receive them on a tablet. So when you receive them on a tablet, it looks a little something like this. Being able to say, hey, show me all the stuff I'm receiving, okay? Well, I received this PO from breweries, and it was for 1,500 pounds. Just go ahead and receive it and put the lot number and the amount that they actually delivered in. So maybe they over-delivered and delivered 2,000 pounds. So that's the way to real-time receive information. Just put POs in the system and receive them in real time. And when you do that, you can run a little report such as this. It says, hey, real briefly, just tell me the stuff I'm going to run out of. Okay. And this report will tell you how much you have on hand, 67 pounds. How much you have on order, outstanding purchase orders in the system. What's demand calling from production, 198 pounds. You should probably order some pretty soon. Same thing with your Citra and your mango salsa and honey, etc. So get in front of how much you need to order, when you need to order it by. Same thing with that sales order. You'll notice we plan production in the system. So we also did sales orders in the system. So we can run this report that'll tell you what your inventory is going to be in the future. And we'll just run it for some cans or some kegs here this afternoon. And this will be able to tell you what your inventory is in the future as well. So for example, on these half barrel kegs of pale, you have 187. Your supply is production orders in the system. You're planning to get 55 of those. So that takes you up to 242, but then they're slowly trickling down, and then you actually run into the red here on the 23rd. So because your sales orders are taking those out of the demand. And you drill down into that sales order that you're going to lose or you can't fulfill, and it's going to Northern Wine and Spirits on 222. So a really nice way to see what your inventory is going to be in the future. Same thing on that raw material side. Very simple. If you guys have a spreadsheet doing this, great. This will save you quite a bit of time in the meanwhile. So that's all of your purchasing. That's all your sales components. So we talked about you want to be able to accurately plan your inventory, and then we'll jump into some brief accounting at the very end here. So when you have accounting all in the same system, you're able to see a couple different components. The first one being brewery-specific chart of accounts. Stop taking information from one system and putting it into your other one. Account for variances, so actually get a true cost of goods sold, and then have more robust financial reporting with true costs of goods, etc. by brand. So we'll jump out of there, hit our financials really fast, and go into our chart of accounts. And you'll notice it's brewery-specific. Run a P&L for we're in revenues now, that revenue drawer. P&L for your brewery, P&L for your tasting room, or combined. And then, how much is your cost of sales drawer? Most folks do not, know how much their work in process is in real time. We can drill down into that and see that. And we had a $74 variance here. Where did it come from? You can drill down into that. See, the recipe called for 1,000 pounds and you used 1,050. Okay. Right there. Or 1 pound and you used 9. So that all compounds. Now equated to $75. Then it made this journal entry for you guys automatically behind the scenes between the WIPWORT accounts. And then even cooler is the assets. So, click on your assets and see how much money's sitting in your Bright Beer. Okay, you got 18 grand hanging out there. What's sitting in your barrel age program? Maybe you got 1,400. Maybe you got 1,800 bucks sitting in your barrel aged beer program. So, all right, and we have 1099s, P&Ls, balance sheets. We can bring up those financial reports for you guys. We can do budgets as well as we'll just do a quick P&L here. So you can separate this by segment if you'd like. You can do a comparison. But for this, we can do it for, if you want to do it for regular, or we'll just go ahead and run it, company-wide here. As we run this report, you'll notice that it should break it down the same way you run it right now. Packaged beer, keg beer, system revenue, COGS packaged beer, work in process accounts, repairs and maintenance. The cool part is you can actually drill down into these. So sales packaged beer, I hit that cell, and you'll notice that these are all your orders, all your AR invoices with their corresponding journal entry. Or if we just want to drill all the way down there into sales package beer, it'll take you right to your chart of accounts. Okay. And you can drill down into it that way. All the individual invoices. So if that was your side of accounting, it's pretty built in. You can see how you can get a true cost of goods there. That way you can run, a brief report, such as this, that'll show you, how much your beer cost you by process at any given time. And then you want to see it for all your processes, sure, what the heck. Maybe you only want to see it for a specific brand. And as you can see here, this is for our amber ale for a quarter. Recipe's calling for 566 pounds of Cascade. You actually used 1428. So that cost you $5,000, and then you can drill down into that variance and find out why. It looks like because here's an 11-pound variance there, another 11-pound variance. We can drill down into that one step further. So super granular, and see that recipe called for 44 pounds and you used 55. And then same thing on the Liberty hops, 22 versus 33, costing you an extra 134 bucks or so. Anything we see in a P&L balance sheet report, we always can export it to Excel. You get your Microsoft Excel button right up here in the toolbar. So unless we have any questions here, we'll go ahead and get wrapped up and take a look at a brief sales analysis report just to finalize things. All right, so we can see at the bottom here, item sales for a specific quarter and CEs on that slicer. We only want to see our IPA versus our pale. So we can go ahead and fill that out as well. You'll notice it not only is showing your cost, but also your profit and your profit percentage. So pretty neat report here. And CEs. Total sold, total cost, total profit. You're losing money on a SKU here. Same thing for if you want to stack a couple customers against each other. Stack Benny against Coors, and see how they're doing in CEs for the month of January. All right, let's go ahead and wrap it up. If anybody has any questions, that's great. If not, really appreciate everyone taking a look at OBeer today.